On March 31, 1912, construction finished on a hull 53 meters tall and 269 meters long, the largest moving object ever built up to that point. To understand that scale, imagine lining up 3 American football fields end to end. The Titanic would stretch across all of them with room to spare. On April 10, 1912, she officially began her maiden voyage, departing Southampton, England, to begin the 3,000-mile journey to New York. Her title was the RMS Titanic. The initials stood for Royal Mail Steamer, and she lived up to the name by carrying nearly 3,500 sacks of letters and documents alongside her passengers. Carrying over 2,200 people and thousands of mail sacks, the Titanic functioned as a massive, record-breaking transit hub for the North Atlantic. First-class passengers traveled in private suites at the top of the ship, with access to a swimming pool, squash courts, and an elaborate dining room. At the bottom of the ship, life was more basic. While third-class cabins were high quality for the time, all 700 passengers shared just 2 bathtubs. White Star Line marketed the vessel as the Ship of Dreams and publicly claimed she was the safest ship ever built. This safety claim relied on the hull, divided into 16 separate sections meant to contain incoming water. Builders believed even if 3 sections completely flooded, the Titanic would retain enough buoyancy to sail to safety. Because White Star Line officially promoted these engineering features as a guarantee of safety, the crew and passengers treated the crossing as a risk-free experience. Just before midnight on the 5th day of the voyage, the ship entered the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. When an iceberg suddenly appeared in the darkness, the ship was moving too fast to turn. At over 45,000 tons, she lacked the agility to clear the path. The ice scraped along the side, tearing holes in 4 separate compartments of the hull. This breached the safety limit. As the 4th compartment filled, the bow began to sink, pulling the rest of the ship down with it. A single glancing blow had defeated the ship's primary safety feature, beginning the final, irreversible countdown to the ship's destruction. Captain Edward John Smith realized the collision was a disaster. He immediately ordered his crew to begin sending out distress signals to any nearby ships. But the crew now faced the consequences of the ship's planning. The Titanic only carried 20 lifeboats. The math was devastating. There were 2,200 people on board, but only enough seats in the lifeboats to hold about half of them. Confusion on the deck made the situation worse. The first lifeboats were launched half-empty, wasting many of the few available spaces. This poor planning and disorganized evacuation turned the sinking into a massive loss of life. At 2 a.m., the rising stern caused the ship to break in 2, sending all those still on board into the -2 degrees Celsius water. In that temperature, most passengers would have died from the cold within 15 minutes. The RMS Carpathia arrived to help at 3:30 a.m. Despite traveling at top speed, she reached the site over an hour after the Titanic disappeared. The Carpathia rescued 705 survivors from the lifeboats and transported them to New York. Tragically, more than 1,500 people lost their lives on the voyage. The disaster proved that engineering claims are no substitute for adequate safety equipment, marking the end of an era of unchecked maritime confidence. Today, the wreck of the Titanic lies on the floor of the North Atlantic as a historical grave. Metal-eating bacteria and harsh ocean currents are slowly destroying what remains of the ship. Some scientists predict that within just a few decades, the physical remains of the ship will completely dissolve and disappear. If you were an engineer designing a passenger ship today, what is the one safety rule you would include to protect your passengers? The 1,500 lives lost on the maiden voyage serve as a permanent reminder that preparation must always come before pride.